Welcome to this episode of Substantial Matters, Life and Science of Parkinson's. I'm your host, Dan Keller. At the Parkinson's Foundation, we want all people with Parkinson's and their families to get the care and support they need. Better care starts with better research and leads to better lives. In this podcast series, we highlight the fruits of that research, the treatments and techniques that can help you live a better life now, as well as research that can bring a better tomorrow. People with young-onset Parkinson's disease face special challenges at work, home, and in the family, and they may have responsibilities that older people do not. While the average age of diagnosis for Parkinson's is around 62, in practice, any diagnosis occurring before age 50 is considered young onset. At this age, career and family responsibilities may leave you less time to engage in your own care compared to people who are retired or with grown children. But the good news is that younger people are often in better health in general, so you can experiment with different types of exercise to find what you most enjoy. Exercise is not only a stress reliever, there is promising evidence that it may modify the Parkinson's disease process, and younger brains may respond to it especially well. Elaine Book, a social worker and the Parkinson's Foundation Center of Excellence coordinator at the Pacific Parkinson's Research Center in Vancouver, British Columbia, works with people with young-onset Parkinson's. While no two people or situations are exactly alike, she describes certain similarities and offers strategies to help you approach the unique challenges of receiving a Parkinson's diagnosis early in life.
With the young onset population, my experience has been that while their needs definitely vary, I would say there are some common themes with the people who I work with. Certainly, work is often a concern for them, their relationships with their family, and coping in general with regards to having a diagnosis like this and the ongoing progressive condition.
Why don't we first focus on some of the work issues? What are the issues and what do people do about them?
There are two significant issues with regards to work. One is around disclosure of the diagnosis, and the other is how long to continue working for. When to disclose is a very individualized decision for many. Many don't want to disclose for fear of losing their job or being looked at in a way such that they're not as capable as they were before. So sometimes people are very reluctant to disclose the diagnosis. But what I try to suggest to them is that they have to recognize that more often than not, their coworkers, if they work closely with others, are picking up on subtle changes, and that they may actually be thinking that there's something far more serious or more stigmatizing than Parkinson's going on. So I often advise that it is valuable to consider to disclose because it can explain a masked face, it can explain a behavior, and those are valuable things for your coworkers to know.
What sort of things do they face in terms of relationships?
So Parkinson's disease is a family affair. It doesn't affect just the individual, but it impacts their partner or their spouse. It impacts their children. It impacts their extended family.
What are some of the specifics there? Extended family, children, spouse, each one of those must have its own intricacies.
Absolutely. So, certainly with the spouse, intimacy is something that's brought up a lot for a variety of reasons with a condition like Parkinson's disease. If the person with Parkinson's has mobility issues or depression or apathy, fatigue, all of those kinds of things really interfere with intimacy. And likewise, for the partner, fatigue and depression can also play a part. So I really do try to talk with couples about the importance of communication, keeping those lines of open and honest conversations going, and talk to them about ways that they can maintain the relationship that they've had.
And extended family and kids?
We could spend a couple of hours on the kids, but in short, most parents do try to, for lack of a better word, shelter their kids from the condition, which is a pretty hard thing to do as it continues to progress. Some people don't even want to tell their kids that they have the diagnosis. Again, I'm a believer in open communication and how important it is to be open and honest with the kids, because again, they're going to pick up on subtle changes, medications sitting on a counter, slowness in using an iPhone, those kinds of things that the person with Parkinson's doesn't realize they're picking up on. And kids were going to go to Google and they're going to find all sorts of things that are, again, far worse than Parkinson's disease. So it's about helping them kind of adjust to changes that are going to happen in the family as a result of having Parkinson's disease in the family, and supporting the kids in learning about it, in coping with it, and moving forward. And with respect to extended family, similarly, not a lot of people know that much about Parkinson's. What they do know may not be accurate. And so with your extended family, you really want to be able to tell them what it is that you need. Some people don't know how to ask, how to be helpful. And so, again, it's about good communication with the people who are in your immediate support network.
For the kids, are there certain limitations that parents with Parkinson's can't do that most parents do? Do the kids come to resent that? Or how do they deal with, Dad can't do this with me?
It's an excellent question, and there's so much variability, right, in Parkinson's disease. And so, again, there's that much variability in the way that it impacts a family or impacts kids. If there's another partner who can pick up the slack, it's about talking about it right from the beginning and talking about ways that you can still maintain the activities that you shared together and focusing on what you can do as opposed to what you can't do. I think the big thing with kids is that if they're showing signs of maladaptive behavior, we can't always assume that it's because of Parkinson's in the family. There's a lot of age and stage stuff that kids are going through that may have nothing to do with the Parkinson's. And again, all the more reason why having conversations, having family meetings, keeping them in the loop is important.
What are some coping strategies that people with young-onset Parkinson's have found or that they can be taught to use?
We kind of divide coping into kind of three different types of strategies that people use. One are task-oriented kinds of strategies where they really look at the situation, analyze it, and take action. There's more emotion-oriented strategies where you kind of look at the feelings and how this whole experience is making you feel and find support for that. And then the other is distraction oriented. So, you look for activities or things that are going to take your mind off of the situation. A lot of young onset exercise, a lot. And not only is that good for the Parkinson's, but it's good for managing stress and coping. And it kind of actually hits all three of those. It's task and it's emotion and it's distraction as well. So if I had to answer your question, the most used coping strategy would be exercise. And that can be yoga and meditation and all sorts of things fall under that category.
What have we missed or that's interesting to add?
I think that there are a lot of great resources out there. So I think the biggest thing is that if somebody with young onset is feeling that they're struggling in one way, asking for help is not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of strength. And there are social workers, nurses, Parkinson's Foundation helpline that can refer people to other resources that are closer to home. And then there are a tremendous amount of online resources available, online chat groups, and especially for the young onsets who are often still working, they can't get to a support group during the day, but there's a number of things that are available that they can access when it suits them. So I think the biggest thing would be just to tap into the resources. Don't be afraid. Knowledge is king, and attitude is probably the biggest thing that somebody can try to embrace. Positive attitude is going to bring positive outcomes.
Very good. Thanks. As Elaine Book said, openness and discussion often help people with young-onset Parkinson's deal with work, family, and social situations. And resources are readily available in person and online. You can always turn to the Parkinson's Foundation helpline for information and referrals. For more on the benefits of exercise for people with Parkinson's, listen to episode 3 of this podcast series. If you have any questions about the topics discussed today, or if you want to leave feedback on this podcast or any other subject, you can do it at parkinson.org/feedback. We'll respond to some questions in future episodes. At the Parkinson's Foundation, our mission is to help every person diagnosed with Parkinson's live the best possible life today. To that end, we'll be bringing you a new episode in this podcast series twice a month. Till then, for more information and resources, visit parkinson.org or call our toll-free helpline at 1-800-4PD-INFO. That's 1-800-473-4636. Thank you for listening.